Hello, everybody. On behalf of Preferred Senior Benefits, I'd like to welcome you to your Medicare 101 class. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Reese, and I'm the founder and president of Preferred Senior Benefits. Did you know that most seniors sign up for Medicare without understanding the basics of Medicare? Well, my goal for today is to change that. Over the next 20 to 25 minutes, we're going to go over the basics of Medicare to give you a general understanding of how it works and what options you actually have. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, and we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. All right. So let me go ahead and minimize this because I'm sure you'd rather see this information than my face this whole time. So once again, let's get going. So before I jump into the Medicare 101, I always think it's very important to talk about who you're dealing with or who you're chatting with. So a couple of pictures here. The picture to your left is actually a picture of my grandfather. He's the one in the very back corner in the cowboy hat and the white shirt. And then that's a picture of me trying to be a cowboy. I think I was 8 or 9 or something of that nature. The reason I bring up this story is he's actually the reason why I started this business. So Preferred Senior Benefits is an independent Medicare broker, and we'll get into that here in a second. But I started this because my grandfather was taken advantage of by somebody in this industry, and it ended up costing between 3 to 5 years of his life. So when I found that out, it really devastated me and my family, and that's why I started this business to make sure that what happened to me doesn't happen to anybody else's parents or grandparents or family or friends or themselves in the future. The other picture is of my beautiful family. The gorgeous woman in the green dress is my wife, Haley. The beautiful young lady in the yellow dress is my daughter, Lincoln. And then the white dog is our golden doodle, Kimber, and the black one is our golden doodle puppy, Colt. He's about 1 in that photo. So I just want to give you guys a little bit of background on who I am and understand who's going to be with you and going through this process for the next couple minutes. So Preferred Senior Benefits, once again, is an independent health insurance broker that specifically focuses on Medicare. That's all we do, and that's what we specialize in. So we're going to go over these basic information for you to get you an understanding of what you need to know when it comes to the outline of basic Medicare information. Okay. So how do you qualify for Medicare? It's pretty straightforward. You need to turn 65 or older, okay? Or you need to be on disability for 24 months. Or you need to have one of these diseases right here in front of you. So end-stage renal disease or Lou Gehrig's disease. That's how you'd qualify for Medicare. Now, people always ask us, well, what if I'm 66, 67, 68? And we're going to go into that here in a little bit. Okay. When do you initially sign up for Medicare, and what's your initial enrollment period? So this is very important, and this tends to get kind of confusing for people. So we're going to go off the premise of you just turning 65 and signing up. This goes to the same fact if you were 67 and deciding to get off of your employer's insurance or your spouse's insurance or things of that nature, but we're just going to go based on the fact that you're 65 for this example. So you have an initial enrollment period of 7 months. So you have 3 months before your 65th birthday, the month you turn 65, or the month you start your Part B effective date, and we'll get to that here in a little bit, and then 3 months after. Okay, this is hands down the most efficient and best time to sign up for Medicare, and we'll jump into those reasons why, but that's your opportunity of getting signed up. So I highly recommend, whether you decide to reach out to us and work with us or somebody else, that you start this process as soon as possible, because you're dealing with the government, you're dealing with a lot of variables, and we don't want to wait till the last minute to get you signed up. Okay. So what are your other election periods? So every single year you have what's called your annual election period, or AEP, that happens from October 15th through December 7th. That is an opportunity that every single senior should take to review their Medicare plan to make sure the plan that they're going to have next year is still the best plan for them that they're on this year. The sad part is about 80 to 90% of seniors never review their plan after they get signed up. So if there's a piece of information I can really lay out for you, is make sure once you're signed up for Medicare, you're meeting with your broker every single year to review those plans to make sure that you're set up correctly. The other type of election periods are what are called special election periods, or SEP, and that's basically a 63-day window where you can qualify for an event that gives you an ability to sign up, like retiring from your work and getting off of your work insurance. That's one example. Another example is you moving. If you move from one state to another, one county to another, you need to review your plans and make sure you're on the right plan, okay? All right, so now that we've talked about, how do you qualify for Medicare? What are the baselines of it? Let's actually talk about what is original Medicare and what does it cover. So original Medicare is represented here by this red, white, and blue card. You'll hear me reference that in this conversation. And that's referencing the card you get from Medicare that has your Medicare information on it. You'll notice here on this example, it has your name. It has a Medicare number. Now that used to be your Social Security number. That's no longer the case. It's its own independent Medicare number. And you want to treat it as if it was a Social Security number. So don't give that number out to anybody unless you trust them, because people will try to commit fraud to that, okay? The next two pieces you have is your hospital Part A effective date and your medical Part B effective date. We're going to go over what those mean and what those cover here in a second, but that's what original Medicare represents, and that's what we're talking about when we're talking about this presentation, okay? When you do become eligible for Medicare, every year you're going to get this Medicare and You book. It's about 130, 140 pages and has tons of great information, but to be honest with you, most people don't take time to read it even though they should. So for the purposes of this presentation, we're going to jump to page 6. That's this page that says your Medicare options. If you have one of these books, feel free to look into it. Like I said, this is just a direct copy of page 6, and we're going to go over your two primary Medicare options that you have, okay? Your original Medicare option, so the option here highlighted in green, is really talking about just doing original Medicare. What does that cover, and what are the additional things you can go or add on to that? So first and foremost, let's talk about original Medicare Part A, okay? The cost of original Medicare Part A, or also known as your hospital coverage, for most people is free, meaning there's no monthly premium that you pay. So if you've been paying into your Medicare taxes for a cumulative total of 40 quarters, your Medicare Part A is normally free for you. Now, if you haven't, there is a monthly premium that you do pay, and those are listed here. You can see those. But for most people who've been paying into Medicare for 10 years, working a W-2 job or owning a business, that's the case, okay? Now, Part A hospital, what does it cover? Okay, so it covers a large portion of your inpatient hospital stays, your skilled nursing facilities, your hospice care, home health care. Okay, it covers a large portion, but it does not cover all, and we're going to talk about that. Okay, so here are the gaps that your Part A actually has as of 2021. So if you're in a hospital, okay, day 1 through 60, you have to hit a deductible of $1,484 per benefit period. After that, you have a $371 copay per day. Let me repeat that, per day. And then days 90 through 150, you have a $742 copay per day. Now, that last tier only has a 60-day lifetime reserve, meaning you can only use that section 60 times within your life. So basically, if you used all that 1 year and you're in the hospital starting at day 91, all the costs of that hospital stay is your responsibility for that 20% of those costs. So be prepared to know what that could potentially cost you. Same thing for skilled nursing. Skilled nursing, day 1 through 20, for each benefit period is nothing, which is awesome, okay? But then day 21 through 100 is $180.50 per day. And after day 101, you pay all those costs as far as your percentage goes with Medicare. So you can see that that's a pretty big potential cost to use personally if you have to go to the hospital, okay? So that's your Medicare Part A, and once again, it covers your medical stays and going to see, going to the hospital in case of emergencies or having things done, okay? Now let's talk about your Medicare Part B. This is your medical side, okay? We get this question all the time. Reese, is Part B required? No, Part B is not required. It is voluntary, meaning you have to sign up for it. The reason you have to sign up for it is there's a cost, and we'll talk about that here in a couple seconds. However, if you decide not to sign up for Medicare Part B when you're eligible in that initial sign-up period, you potentially could have a 10% penalty for each year you choose not to apply that never goes away. Okay, so it can be very costly as that adds up. Now, there are some exceptions, right? If you are 65 and you decide to sign up for Medicare Part A, but you're still on your work insurance or you're still on your spouse's insurance, you're not going to get those penalties because you're just delaying the sign up for Part B. Once you then sign up, then you're not going to have that penalty in most cases because you've had what's called qualified insurance. Okay. What does Part B cost? Okay, this is pretty straightforward. Part B as of 2021 cost $148.50 per person per month. Okay, let me repeat that, per person per month. So it's not a combined for you and your spouse, it's per person per month, and that's for most people. And this number can normally goes up every year, but as of 2021, it's $148.50. Now you'll hear people say, oh, my Medicare is completely free, I don't pay for any of it. Normally, that's not the case. What normally happens is they're having this $148.50 taken out of their Social Security each month automatically, and they don't realize that. That's what we see happen a lot here at Preferred Senior Benefits, where people don't really understand how that works. Now, you notice it says here for most people. If you're a higher income earner, okay, your Medicare Part B is going to go up, the premium you pay. And here's a slide that shows that. I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but that's really kind of the tax brackets that it works in. And your payment, your monthly premium will go up based on that. Okay. Okay, Reese, you told me what Part B covers or costs. What does it cover? Okay. It covers your seeing a doctor, your doctor's visits, inpatient, outpatient care, getting labs done, getting x-rays done, physical and occupational therapy, things of that nature. Okay, those are things that it covers. What are the gaps in Medicare Part B? This is really straightforward. This is even easier than Part A. Okay, Medicare pays 80% of the costs. You pay 20%. Okay, this kicks in after you pay a $203 deductible as of 2021. Okay, and then you follow the 20% of the Medicare fee structure. Now, here's the scary part. There is no max out-of-pocket responsibility when you're on Medicare Part B. So let's break that down in real-world numbers. So if you go see a doctor and your bill's $100, Medicare will pay $80 of it. You'll pay $20, no big deal. But if you had to go to a doctor and have an x-ray and a bunch of stuff happened and the bill was $100,000, hypothetically speaking, Medicare would pay $80,000, but you would be responsible for $20,000. Okay, it's a big dollar amount. So just really want to reiterate, there is no max out of pocket when it comes to that. Okay, so now we've talked about Part A and Part B, and Part A and Part B is what comes with original Medicare. That's the side of it we were talking about, the red, white, and blue card. That's what comes when you sign up for Medicare through Social Security and the Medicare administration. Now let's talk about the additional options that you can choose to add if you want to an original Medicare, if you're going to go down this path. The next option we're going to talk about is your Medicare Part D, or more commonly known as your prescription drug plan. Okay, this part is really confusing, so I'm going to do my best to kind of give you the baseline information. So this is how your Medicare prescription drug plan works, and it works like this every year. So at the beginning of the year, you get your plan, and you enter what's called the initial coverage phase. That's where you're paying very reasonable numbers for your drugs. They're either free or they cost you $5, $10, $20 a month, very reasonable. Okay, you stay in this initial coverage phase until you hit your deductible and a cumulative total between you and your insurance company of $4,130. Okay, now once you've done that, then you go into what's known as the coverage gap phase, or more commonly known as the donut hole. I think I told you all at the beginning of this presentation that I started this business because I lost my grandfather because someone didn't do their job with him. Well, this is what I'm referencing to. Basically, my grandfather got to a point where he hit this donut hole and his drugs became really expensive. He had no idea what was going on. He didn't understand why this was happening. He didn't know who to turn to. So instead of reaching out and trying to figure out what was going on or plan for it, he just stopped taking his drugs. And that's what ended up costing him between 3 to 5 years of his life. At least that's what my grandmother thinks. And that's why this is so important to me. So be very cautious of this, okay? When you hit this coverage gap or donut hole, okay, you stay in that and the prices of your drugs become way more expensive than they were during the initial coverage phase, okay? And you stay in this until you hit your MOOP, or max out of pocket for your plan, or a cumulative total of $10,048 between you and your insurance company, okay? Once you've done that, you now go into the catastrophic coverage phase of your insurance. Basically, the government, Medicare, and everyone's realized, wow, you've bled a lot as far as spending money goes for this plan. You're going to now go to this catastrophic side. And now you're only responsible for 5% of your drugs. Now, that can still be a pretty big chunk if you're on some expensive drugs, but at least now you're only responsible for 5%. And you stay in this until December 31st of that year, and then it all starts all over again. So you can see how this can be very confusing, how this can be very costly. And if you're not reviewing your plan every single year with a broker that you can trust to make sure you're on the right plan, it could be catastrophic. So it's very important that you review this every year and make sure that you're on the right plan, okay? All right, so we've now talked about your Part D prescription side, okay? Part A, Part B, and now your Part D prescription. Now let's talk about your Medicare Supplement coverage, also known as a Medigap policy. This is another option you can choose to do, okay? Once again, Part A and Part B come together. Part B is an option, Part D is an option, and a supplemental plan is also an option, okay? So Medicare Supplement, also known as a Medigap policy, basically fills in the gaps that Part A and Part B doesn't cover. So we talked about that 20% cost. Basically, it fills that in so you're not going to be having those mass crazy out-of-pocket numbers, okay, cost to you. It fills in those gaps, okay? You pay a monthly premium and it covers those expenses for you. The great thing about the Medicare supplements is there's no network. As long as you're somewhere that takes Medicare, because this Medicare supplement is an add-on product, they'll take this add-on product. The last part about it is it's a fixed payment model. What that means is you pay for it every single month, whether you use it or not, and it really takes care of the majority of the other costs for you. If you're going to sign up for this plan, the best time to do it is during that initial 7-month period that we talked about, because that's the only time it's guaranteed issuance, meaning that you don't have to qualify. If you don't do it that initial period, you can be turned down for those plans. Okay. So once again, we just talked about your Part A, Part B, Part D, and a Medicare supplement. Most of the time, if somebody's going to go down the original Medicare path, they usually go with all 4 options. Once again, these are optional. It's up to you. Okay. Now let's talk about your Medicare Advantage option, also known as Part C, so Medicare Part C. This is the plan you see all the commercials on, you hear Joe Namath talking about, you get all the mailers for, things like that. So let's talk about what Medicare Advantage or Medicare Part C does. It takes your Part A, your Part B, most plans include a Part D, and it includes additional benefits, and we'll talk about those here in a second, and puts it all together in one plan, okay, through an insurance company, okay? So what are the advantages of a Part C or Medicare Advantage? Once again, it combines everything into one plan under a for-profit insurance company. So no longer is Medicare your primary insurance. This for-profit insurance company is your primary insurance, and it covers Part A, Part B, and most of the plans have Part D. Now, what it also includes most of the time for no additional charge is dental, vision, hearing, all built into the plan. And a lot of the other ones also include a fitness membership to different gyms, meals if you need them, and what are called OTCs, or over-the-counter benefits. These are money that they give you on a quarterly basis to go buy vitamins and lotions and braces and things like that. That additional free money that you can use for your healthcare. Okay, so that's what a Medicare Advantage plan does. So once again, looking at your 2 primary options, original Medicare, Part A, Part B, and you have the option of buying a Part D plan and or a Medicare supplement plan. And then you have Medicare Advantage, which combines Part A and Part B, and most other plans have Part D and additional benefits included. Okay, so those are your options. Now everyone says, okay, Reese, that's great. You've just given me so much information. I'm so confused, thank you. Okay, are you feeling that way? So let's do a side-by-side comparison of the major 6 factors that we found here at Preferred Senior Benefits that really make you look at these a little different. So we're going to do a side-by-side comparison of if you had a Medicare Advantage plan with a prescription drug plan and original Medicare with Medicare Supplement and a Part D. So let's just compare these, okay? So we're going to start with monthly premium, meaning what you pay every single month. So in a Medicare Supplement with a Part D plan, the base cost of the monthly premium goes up by your age every year. So it could cost you $50, $100, $200 a month. And then every year you get older, those plans tend to go up and get higher and higher and more expensive. Okay. On a Medicare Advantage plan with a prescription drug plan, the cost for those plans are usually $0 a month to very low, comparatively speaking. Okay. So it doesn't cost you very much, if anything, on a monthly basis. So if you're looking at just a monthly cost perspective, the Medicare Advantage plan probably makes more sense because it doesn't cost you anything. But once again, that's only looking at the monthly cost basis. So you have to look at the whole package. So next, let's talk about your max out-of-pocket. Okay, this is where you see a huge shift. On a Medicare Supplement plan with a Part D plan, you have very low out-of-pocket expenses. The reason is you're paying a monthly premium for that plan to fill in those gaps like we talked about earlier. So because you're paying for it on a monthly basis, you have very little out-of-pocket expense out of that, very, very low. Versus on a Medicare Advantage plan, you do have a standard max out-of-pocket range. The way I can correlate this is traditional insurance that you have before you get on Medicare, where you have a max out-of-pocket of $2 grand, $5 grand, 10 grand, 20 grand, whatever it is. You have that max out-of-pocket. So basically, as you use the Medicare Advantage plan, you pay for things as you go. So if you go to a doctor, maybe a $10, $20, $30 copay. If you go to a specialist, it may be a $40 copay. If you go to the hospital, it may cost you $300 a day, things like that. So as you use it, you're going to have to pay for it. But the reason there's a trade-off is you're not paying for it on a monthly basis. There's no monthly premium cost. So you pay as you go versus on Medicare Supplement, you pay every single month whether you use it or not. Okay. Now, we just talked about the out-of-pocket costs. Let's talk about the cost sharing. Okay. And that's the same example that I just used. On a Medicare Supplement plan with a prescription drug plan, there's very little cost sharing because you're paying for it every single month. Okay. Versus the cost sharing on a Medicare Advantage, like I spoke about the max out-of-pocket earlier, you pay for it every single time you use it. The one thing I don't think I talked about the max out-of-pocket I want to reiterate is on the Medicare Advantage plan, you do have that max out-of-pocket. So you will know the max you would ever spend for your hospital and medical side. I think it's a really key part to talk about, okay? Let's talk about additional services, okay? On a Medicare Supplement plan, there are no ancillary services. So if you want vision, dental, and hearing, you're going to need to go buy those separately, which you definitely can do, but that is something you have to do separately. On a Medicare Advantage plan, most plans include dental, hearing, and vision at no additional cost. So obviously that's a good benefit if those are things that are important to you, okay? Let's talk about networks, okay? This is super important. If you're on a Medicare, original Medicare with a Medicare Supplement and a Part D plan, you can go anywhere Medicare is accepted. So you could have a surgery in California 1 week on a hip and then go to New York next week and have another hip surgery, and it's totally fine because there's no network. As long as they take Medicare, you're taken care of, okay? You don't have to stay within those networks. On a Medicare Advantage plan, you do have to stay within the carrier's networks to get the best deal, HMO, PPO, things like that. I correlate this to the thought process of if you need to get some cheese and you need to go to the grocery store, if you just go to the normal grocery store, you get a certain amount of cheese for $10, right? But if you go to Costco or Sam's Club, because you're a member of those groups, for that same $10, you're going to get a ton more cheese. So this is a way to look at it. One thing I will say, because people do get concerned about this, is if you're traveling and it's an emergency, no matter which plan you're on, as long as you're within the United States, you're covered. When we're talking about seeing doctors, it would be more of an elective thing. Like you want to get a hip replacement or you want to get eye surgery. Those are elective. It's not if you're in a car accident or something like that. Okay. Last thing we're going to talk about is who actually administers the plans. Okay. On a Medicare Supplement Part D option, you have original Medicare that pays for everything first, and then your supplement that pays for everything secondary. So there's two payers in that scenario, okay? On a Medicare Advantage plan, all benefits run through the for-profit insurance company. So it's just one company. So you'd only have to carry one insurance card on the Medicare Advantage side of it. If you're on a Medicare Supplement plan with a prescription D plan, you'd have to carry three. You'd have your original Medicare card, which is your red, white, and blue, your prescription drug plan, which is your Part D, and your Medicare Supplement plan, okay? So if we compare the two side by side, you can see that there's pluses and negatives to both, and you really need to figure out which one makes the most sense for you and your family. That's why it's so important to do this review, to work with somebody that you trust and to understand what the options are, okay? Once again, we already talked about this a little bit earlier, but it's super important that you do this review 90 days before your Medicare needs to start, because there's going to be a lot of pieces that you could potentially have stop you or that the government's requesting. So make sure you start that as soon as possible. I want to share a little bit about us. Here's just some insight of our team. You have myself. You have Haley, who's my beautiful wife, who's our CFO. She runs the number side of everything. Summer is our amazing client coordinator. She helps with the process of getting the paperwork through, collecting all the data and things of that nature. Heather runs our customer support team. So basically when you call our front desk, her team is the one that answers to get you to me or Summer or Haley, whoever you need to talk to. And then you have Sandy, Lauren, and Cody, who are part of our advisory board that really help us grow as a business and make sure we're most efficient for you possible. And last but not least is Red. So Red is our mascot. That's a picture of him. He's an owl. I talked to everybody about why I started this business about my grandfather. Well, my grandfather's nickname was Red. We used to always call him, the old wise one, or the owl of the family. So that's where that correlates. And he's our mascot. I thought it'd be fun just to throw that in there and let you guys know about, a little bit more about who we are as a whole. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing here. See if there we go. And just want to thank everybody for their time. And hopefully we gave you some very basic general overview about Medicare and how it works. When it comes time to make the actual decision, you need to get with somebody, whether it's somebody from our team or somebody you trust, and go through the specific processes of Medicare and how it correlates to you and what plans are available in your specific area, because they do change. So thank you all for your time. If you have any questions, please let us know. Have a great day. Bye.